What's going on, people? Welcome to the United Stand. Welcome to me and Owen once again on your screens. It's the Ollie presser, the one we've all been waiting for, man. It might be explosive. I'm hoping it won't be explosive. I'm hoping that Ollie holds his own. Do you know what I mean, Owen? I don't really want it to be too explosive. I definitely hope Ollie doesn't say something that kind of riles up the fans. Ollie's a great guy. Ollie understands the club. Ollie understands the fans. And I just hope that the Glazers haven't got a hold of him, because there's been a whole week, and Ed Woodward, because he's still there, got a hold of him to see. Now, I know we touched on this at the back end of our show yesterday, but now we're here. We're 15 minutes away from the presser, or should I say, about 15 minutes away. How are you feeling, and how do you think it's going to be?
Well, like you said, I'm hoping. Look, the explosive I will take is that if he comes out and says, look, I didn't agree with the plans, I don't like the plans, I'm glad we don't have the plans, and I'm glad that we're moving forward in the right direction. I'll take that explosive. I'd take the explosive if he said, oh, the Glazers are terrible or rubbish. He's not going to say that. That's not going to happen. I think that might be slightly unrealistic if people are thinking that that's going to be the case. I think some people are hoping that he comes out and says, yeah, Glazers terrible. He's not going to say that. He's not going to say that. I think the likelihood.
Is he going to say the opposite though, Owen?
They're going to say that's the likelihood is maybe the other side of it. That's more likely than even saying, oh, the Glazers are terrible. And that's the thing I'm worried about. Like you, I really don't want that. And I don't want to be melodramatic, but maybe I am being melodramatic. I don't know. But it's probably, arguably, the single most important press conference he's ever done, and probably ever will do as Manchester United manager. And it's almost got nothing to do about the match. I know it's the Leeds presser, but I mean, realistically, if people are asking him questions about Leeds United, I would be stunned if the first question is, right, team selection, what are you thinking on?
Is Cavani fit?
Like, yeah, you'd be saying, excuse me. I'd be nudging the guy next to me going, right, what's going on? Ask a good question. Well, so like you said, explosive, I don't know, but it's going to be certainly interesting.
I've got my pen, in my hand right here, which you can see very shortly. I've got my notebook. I've got Jay's notebook. I'm ready for action. I don't even know how you hold it. Is this? I don't even know. Like I don't know. I'm a bit cack-handed, but I don't even know how you do it. I hold a pen like that.
To be honest, Flex, I didn't expect the stream to start off with, "How do you hold a pen?"
You do it all professional, where it looks like it's meant to be there. Mine looks mad. Like mine looks so staged. Like people know I don't normally have that. My fingers are all over the place.
Just there you go. It's just natural. Just flows. And as you get more animated, you can fly around, break it in half, do what you want, mate.
Yeah, 100%.
Anything could happen.
Exactly. If you're just joining us, smash a like on the video, guys, and subscribe if you're new. We're here for Ollie's presser, and look, I think the important thing about this as well, though, although it is a bit like, what's he going to do? What's he not going to do? I think it's really important to state this. We want the best for Ollie. We're 100% behind Ollie, and that's the reason why I'm nervous for this, because I don't want him to have to take the fall for their shit. Like, we've seen what happens, how they shout on the players, the coaching staff got shot on. We've seen managers at other clubs, the same thing. We know this was about the owners, and there's been a whole week to talk about this now. And actually, with the resignation of Ed Woodward, there's also been a whole week to look at Ollie and brief him and coach him through what to say. And I've just got a big feeling that they're gonna kind of brief him to maybe make himself look bad. The owners are talking about trying to rebuild the relationship and listen to the fans and all this crap. Well, that might be at the expense of saying to Ollie, listen, mate, just give the owners a little bit of a positive. Just say that, they were really sorry to you and stuff, and they've really maintained in investing and really maintained and looking towards the summer and building, or we're really just looking forward to finishing the season strong. They're right behind us to win the Europa League and all that stuff. I know we can't go in on him, and I'm not expecting miracles from Ollie. I just don't want him to do the other thing, which is kind of back them. I know it's his employers, but come on, Ollie, please. That's my thing, because I'm with him on this.
Yeah, I agree. It's the positive. The positive is also the negative here. The positive is that he has had what some of the other managers didn't have. He's had some time. He's had some time this week to really gather his thoughts, think about the right way to put this. That's also the negative, because he's also had time for these PR people, these spin doctors, whatever you want to call them, to get in his ear. And that's the concern for me, because over the course of the last 48 hours, how much spin have we seen on social media? How much spin? Whether it's Ed Woodward rebuilding fences, I had nothing to do with the Glazers. The Glazers are considering Tissau. relationship with the fans. I mean, I've never heard so much nonsense by so many different stories. And if it's the same people in Ollie's ear, like you said, that concerns me. That does concern me. Spoke about all the time this week, the lesser of two evils. Which route is he going to take today? And if he really, which I think he will, if he understands the ethos, the morals of Manchester United, he will be calculated, but there is the right way to lay this out. There is the right way to say, I didn't believe in the project. I believe in the purity and the integrity of sports. I believe in earning your prizes. They're the right ways to say it. Like we said earlier, I don't think he's going to come out against his employers. At the end of the day, they are still the ones that sign his checks. You know, it's going to be a really interesting one. Like I said, in my opinion, it's probably the biggest press conference he's had so far as Manchester United manager. Maybe that he'll ever.
Yeah, and that's crazy considering he's had one where he's interim, which would have been amazing for him, considering he's had one where he got the job on a permanent basis. And then he's had ones where, like, you know, Paul Pogba's been talking smoke again, or Rehearsal said something, and he's had to kind of swerve that. You're right. With what's happened in football, this is 100% the biggest he's had, because you look at the heat that's coming. I've been told on good merit that the protest will get asked about as well. You know, there's a couple of protests planned, one for tomorrow, one before the Liverpool game as well, which will be at both. It's going to be really interesting to see how he plays this, and that's why I'm a little bit nervous. I don't even really want it to be about this, but unfortunately, it has to be, and because Ollie's got to give answers, because he's in the hot seat. He's in the hot seat. You're the manager. You got to front it up. I just want him to do it in the right way. I really, really do. So I'm at the pen at the ready. And as it goes on, guys, nice. I mean, I'll be muting and Owen will be kind of, taking you guys through as well while I listen to what's going on. And the quotes will be coming in thick and fast, which we'll get up on the screen for you guys as well. But I just think it is important that we don't want Ollie to trip up. I don't want to be on this stream saying, I can't believe he said that. Why is he saying that? He's defending them. You know, but I've also not got an agenda. Like, I'm not stupid enough to say, why didn't he go in on them really hard? Exactly. Why didn't he? I just want somewhere in between, really. But I just worry, because you know what the Glazers are like. They're talking crap. They're saying that now they want to have a better relationship with the fans. What better way to start from their point of view than getting Ollie on side? Because they know that they're playing on the heartstrings with us. They know that we love Ollie. You know what I mean? Even if you're Ollie out in this situation, we feel it for Ollie in this situation.
About agendas and stuff like that. There have been those people that say, Ollie, he just loves the club and he might be a puppet for Ed Woodward or the Glazers. And I don't want those people to have more ammunition after this press conference, because if it doesn't go well, and if he does say, Ed's done everything he can to help the club, and the Glazers, they really love the club. They're all about the integrity of the club, and they understand it, and they did make a genuine mistake, and Joel really feels bad about it. And then they talk about those agendas, those people, they'll be like, right, we told you so. We told you so. That's why it's important. That's why it's really important. And like you said, in a strange way, you're hoping for just middle of the road. You're hoping for him just to say, I didn't agree with it, move on. And if that's the case, great.
Yeah, well, Nick P, the super chat here from Nick P says, Nick P's actually right, and I agree with this. Nick P says, guys, it's not that complex for Ollie. Just come out and condemn it all. The owners have already thrown the idea out under the bus, as well as 90% of the hood. Just do the same. It's not that deep. Nick P, I 100% agree with you that this shouldn't be that deep. Like, we're not there anymore. The Super League is not going to happen anymore. But knowing how our owners are manipulative and knowing how our owners don't want to front things and make other people the fall guys all the time, I just worry for Ollie, because what I've seen in his mannerisms, obviously he's a great guy. He's a happy guy. He loves the club. He understands about the fans. But when the pressure's been put on him to kind of speak out in other things, which I understand about the Glazers, he doesn't really do it. And I just hope that this is a little bit different. And this is a lot different because of the pressure that's been on the whole European football since this has happened. It is easier for Ollie in this situation. I do agree with that. It's easier, and the reason why it's easier is because it's not happening anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? He didn't have to do the Jurgen Klopp on the day where it was like, what's going on? And he had to basically let the cat out of the bag that they've been shat on by the owners and nobody knew. Ollie doesn't need to talk then. The same with Arteta the other day. When I looked at what his comments were yesterday, his was, I didn't really get time to even think of a response. By the time I was going to pick up the phone to talk to Pep, it would already been thrown out. Kind of just, using it to your advantage. If anything, I'd rather him kind of do that than still either I want a bit more, but I would still take that over saying anything positive directly to the owners.
Yeah.
Just don't really mention the owners. Okay, even if you want to do that, Ollie, I'll take that. Just don't back them publicly.
Well, exactly. And as well, and as you mentioned, there are so many different avenues of questioning here. It's not just what did you think of the Super League? It's also what did you think of the other clubs pulling out? What did you think of the collapse? What did you think of the way the announcement was made? What did you think of Florentino Perez's comments? What did you think of the upcoming protest? What do you think of yesterday's protest at Carrington as well? There are all of these different ways, and like you said, maybe the good thing is that he's had all this time, but the negative of having all this time is so much has happened that there's so many. Like I said earlier, if someone asks a question about Leeds United early on, you'll be saying, "What a waste of a question! Really, what a waste of a question!"
Exactly, because they're not going to improve. They're not going to increase the amount of questions, are they? So you still only got your 8 questions or whatever there is. Don't waste it on that. I mean, save maybe one at the end for that. But
after all that,
yeah,
after he's drenched in sweat and he's got massive bags under his eyes. Oh, I've been through the ringer.
But then again,
right then he's got prediction.
Right at the end. But or as fans, then are we maybe being a little bit too much on that side then? Maybe should they talk about the Leeds game a little bit more? Maybe ask him 2 questions about it, gauge it, and then not try and trip him up? Or are you saying, nah, there's so much to ask about this thing, we need to know where you stand?
I just, the only reason I can think that those journalists in there would move towards the Leeds side of things is if they were told by the press officer or whatever, look, you can ask one question about the Super League or what's happened, but this is a Leeds press conference, all that kind of stuff. But again, if you've got a bit of journalism integrity, which I don't know about journalists, but that's just part of the course, then you would think, you know what, no, this is what the public wants to know. This is what the fans want to know. And if they've got the best interest of the fans or the public, they would ask these questions. It's just a case of whether they do or not.
Yeah, that is a great point, because actually, although the game's coming up and stuff like that, so someone put in the comments there, this is bigger than football, and it's true, it is bigger than football, and the fans deserve to know where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sits and what he feels about it. I know they reserve the right to keep that private and all that stuff, and don't want to rile up the fans, but he's going to get asked about the fans that came to Carrington. He's going to get asked of how did you calm them down, and Ole cannot go, well, I think it's a disgrace. They shouldn't have come. They shouldn't have done that. He's going to have to say, look, everyone's frustrated. Everybody, the fans deserve to have a voice, and they were fine. We spoke to them. He needs to come with that energy. He can't come with, well, it was a massive disruption, something we just didn't need, and belittle that. Do you know what I mean? Someone just said in the free seats there as well, and I want to make sure all the Reds get a chance to watch this. Can you watch this in the app for free, or do you need a subscription? You don't need a subscription. Just go into the Manchester United app, and you'll see it pretty much starting any minute now. We want all Reds to be able to watch this while you're watching us. But this is about to start.
But also as well, when you think about it, when it comes to the importance of it and different aspects he can be asked on. As I mentioned before, you can ask him about these protests. You can ask him about Florentino Perez. You can also ask him about the apologies. Are the apologies justified? What did he think of JP Morgan coming out today and saying that, oh, we regret it and we didn't realize the reaction of the wider football community, all that kind of stuff. It's just, there is so much. There is really so much that, like I said, if they ask him about Leeds, you'll be like, come on. There are other questions. So, I mean, I don't know how long do you reckon this will last as well? Because this could be a mammoth one, realistically, couldn't it? Yeah.
About 15 minutes, isn't it? Ish, 15, maybe 20 minutes max. I mean,
like a match.
Yeah, exactly. Which is interesting because, like I was saying, I don't think they're going to increase the amount of questions being able to be asked. That would, from a media point of view, you wouldn't want to give them more chance to attack. You know what I mean? So you're gonna if it's say 7 questions or 8 questions, you're not gonna go, I'll tell you what, there's been a lot going on. Do you want 15 questions? Like, yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? So I think it will probably still be the same length, just because they won't want the heat. They'll want this over and done with as quickly as possible. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's been rehearsals. Imagine, I think it could be a drama school. Ollie's been doing rehearsal, learning his lines, mate, since Tuesday. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, when you watch those like Amazon Prime documentaries, like the one they did on Tottenham and all that kind of stuff, you saw that in that, realistically, that was a real good look at what a press officer does when they were speaking to Mourinho. Mourinho as a Spurs manager, remember that? They were speaking about to him then, going, look, they're going to ask this. This is going to be your answer. So, like you said, this could be completely rehearsed. There's no way they haven't thought through the plethora of different avenues that people are going to go down. Because even if it's Ed Woodward, the reports out there that Solskjaer was told about the Super League just as he handed in the team sheet against Burnley. You're going to ask him, is that true? Because if he says that is true, then everyone would know, actually, he was in the dark. The players were in the dark. He's going to be asked about Ed Woodward's resignation. They're going to ask about his contributions to Manchester United while he's been there, commercially and on the pitch. He's going to be asked about, does it affect transfers in the summer as well? There's loads of different avenues here. This is why I'm saying it's going to be like a 15-minute, 20-minute press conference. It's going to feel like he was playing again. I think he's going to have more adrenaline than 99 after scoring that goal. He's going to feel so deflated, adrenaline dump. It's going to be crazy.
When you're live on the news and it says we're going to go live to 10 Downing Street because Boris has just
when it comes to answers, and I think it's
I was thinking there, it feels a bit like we're going to go live to 10 Downing Street because Boris is about to address the nation. That's what I feel like now. I'm just going to tune in here now while you're with the comments as well, and Jordy's in your ear, just to get a feel of what Ollie's saying here, Owen.
All right, no problem. Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, when it comes to the rehearse point, because I think that Flex made a really good point there about being rehearsed, because I think people sometimes they might need a little bit of an insight as to how these things work. Sometimes when you're a fan and you're watching these press conferences, you assume that the manager's just being asked these questions and they're reacting to them just as they're hearing them. Oh, I didn't expect them to ask that questions. They will be, no matter it will be rehearsed, but you would have thought all of this through. You would have thought all of this through. And they know the subject matter here. If anything, he'll be relieved to hear a question about Leeds. He'd be relieved to hear them ask about tactics or Cavani or Pogba or McFred. Can you imagine actually having them talk about McFred, having that conversation over again? They'll be happy about that. He'll be happy about that. So again, not wanting to be melodramatic and not wanting to be over the top and say that it's the biggest one of his Manchester United career, but it absolutely is. And you can see the first quote on the screen there. It's talking about Eric Bailly. He says, "Yes, Eric is back and has been training this week. It's been a good week." That's interesting. It's been a good week. I'm assuming he's saying specifically about training. I don't know if he means it's been a good week in terms of PR, in terms of the craziness going on. Does he mean it's a good week when it comes to Ed Woodward's resignation? I doubt that. I think he's obviously talking about tactics and talking about the squad selection that's coming up for Leeds at the weekend. But Eric Bailly's an interesting one as well, isn't it? Because when they talk about his situation, does he want to leave? Does he want to stay? That's going to be an interesting one to pay attention to. So we can see the next quote on the screen there as well. So he's talking about Marcus Rashford. This is quite interesting. Marcus hasn't trained, but I hope that he will join us tomorrow. He also says, apart from that, everyone, of course, Anthony is injured still, because there was rumours, wasn't there, discussing he might be out to the end of the season, has had a couple of days of recovery and a week of preparation and training. So Marcus Rashford, to be honest, when hasn't he been carrying a knock for the last 6 months or whatever? And this thing when it comes to Marcus Rashford about the injuries and about the carrying of knocks and the carrying of injuries, it doesn't seem to be going away, does it? And that's the concern for me, not just as a United fan, but also as an England fan going into the summer. Is there going to be a period of time when Marcus Rashford isn't carrying a knock? And that worries me. That worries me because I look at it this way: when you talk about players over the years that are young players and they've been carrying injuries, I look at people like Michael Owen, and I look at people like, Wayne Rooney had injuries, but I think he just hit his peak really early and peaked out towards the end of his career. But you do look at players after a while, if you're carrying an injury for such a long period of time, after a while, it does start to catch up to you. And I'm not saying that's going to happen with Rashford. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't know his physical situation, but it was the same last year, wasn't it? Had a back injury. He was carrying it for so long to the point that after a while it caught up with him. It really caught up with him after a while. So that's interesting about Rashford. Even though he hasn't trained, and Solskjaer says, I hope they will join us tomorrow, would you think that it's not going to be a chance he plays at the weekend? I think he plays anyway, because that's what Rashford does. That's what Solskjaer does when it comes to Rashford. He plays irrespective of however many knocks he's carrying. I mean, I feel bad for him. I really do feel bad for him, because sometimes you see him get taken off in, was it the 60th minute? Oh, as if Solskjaer does a substitution in the 60th minute, but whenever he gets taken off, and every single time walks down the tunnel and then hobbles off. So that's an interesting one. I think when it comes to Martial there as well, when it's saying that Anthony is injured still, when they had the situation about him coming out saying he was going to be out to the end of the season, there was this discussion, wasn't there, of, oh, it's really serious, it's really bad. I think you have to look at the proximity towards the end of the season as well, don't you? When someone gets injured at this point, they're probably going to be out for the end of the season because there aren't that many games. So that's the situation when it comes to Martial. There's another quote on the screen there. It says, first of all, I'm very happy the fans have voiced their opinion. Now we're getting into the real nitty gritty when it comes to the Super League. So it says, first of all, I'm very happy the fans have voiced their opinion and that we've listened to them. It's a strange sort of way. It's brought the football pyramid and community together. And I think that's important. And I'm very happy. That's pretty good. I'll take that when it comes to Solskjaer. I'll take that he's happy that the football pyramid and community has come together. It is important, and I think it's good that he's come out and said that he's happy about that, and it's good that he said that he's very happy the fans have voiced their opinion. It's interesting because the voicing of the opinions when it comes to fans isn't going to go away. So if he says that he's happy that the fans have the ability to voice their opinion, the fans are going to continue to voice their opinions going forward over the next couple of weeks. We know about the protests that's scheduled for tomorrow. We know that the bigger one that's scheduled in a couple of weeks' time before the Liverpool game. So that's interesting. And here's the big one. Here's the really big one, isn't it? It says, I didn't like, as I was talking about the Super League concept anyway, it has to be on sporting merits. I want to earn the right to play in Europe. We know we've been pioneers and we've been in Europe for many, many years with the Busby Babes. We want to be part of a successful European campaign again. That's the big one. That's the big one. I credit Solskjaer there. That's the right avenue there. He's come out. That's pretty, to be honest, I wasn't sure if he was going to be that direct, but him coming out saying, look, I didn't like the concept. It has to be on sporting merit. I want to earn the right to play in Europe. And talking about the history of Manchester United, that's important as well. He can talk about not liking the concept and sporting merit, but when he's tied it into the history and the fabric of Manchester United, when he's talked about the Busby Babes, when he's talked about the history, I mean, this is the guy, let's be honest here, this is the guy that his most famous moment inside of a Manchester United shirt, all of those years ago in Barcelona in the Nou Camp, when he scores that goal in '99, wins the European Cup, the Champions League for Manchester United, that's his history. And it's important that he knows that history. And I credit him for coming out, not only saying he didn't like the concept, but tying into the history and the morals and the ethics and the history of Manchester United. I'm glad Solskjaer has done that. It's a relief. It's really a relief. So there's another quote that's coming out now. As he mentions, one of my best nights was something we worked really hard towards. To get to that fear of failure, you can't be given it because your name is such and such. You have to earn the right to be there. Absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer knocking it out the park with that one. Not only has he come out and said he didn't like the Super League concept, but he's spoken about the Busby Babes, the history of Manchester United. And as I just touched on there, one of his best nights was something that he'd worked really hard to get towards. And people forget about that. People forget about that when it comes to '99 as well. The drama of that is that on several occasions we were defeated. We were defeated in the drama. And as he mentioned, we worked really hard to get towards that. The semi-final, Roy Keane's performance in Turin against Juventus. We worked really hard to get to that. That fear of failure. And how close. Manchester United is a club that's come back from that fear of failure so many times over the years. I mean, that Champions League final, that we thought failure was there until the last couple of minutes where Solskjaer get there. And he's right. You can't be given it because your name is such and such. You do have to earn the right to get there. And he's absolutely spot on with that comment. I think also it's going to be interesting to see if someone asked him about the new Champions League reforms, because that last little bit on the end there, when he's talking about earning the right to be there with the new Champions League reforms, it's not that much different from the Super League. So it'd be interesting to see if someone asked him about that. Another quote that he's been asked, and I've always felt and believed in stepping out of your comfort zone, being afraid of failure. That spurs you on, living on the edge a little bit, and that wasn't part of this. Again, that's literally spot on, absolutely spot on. I mean, there was a concern going into this, wasn't there, that Solskjaer would maybe, even if he towed the line, people might be happy about that. People might be happy about him towing the line or whatever. But the fact he's come out now, on so many levels. He spoke about not liking the Super League. He spoke about that. He spoke about the Busby Babes. He spoke about the history, the fabric of Manchester United. Spoke about the fear of failure, and that's important as well. That's absolutely important as well. So I think he's absolutely nailing this, to be honest. It really is fantastic. And he was right, that living on the edge, it wasn't a part of it. And that's the drama. I think that's what he means by that. That's drama. That's sport, fundamentally, irrespective of football. Sport is drama. It's live drama. And with this new Super League concept, we were getting away from that. So I think he's done well so far. And he says here, and for me, I'm very happy at all the clubs that have admitted their mistake was bad, a bad idea, and the way it came out as well. Just when we're talking about getting fans back from the stadium, we get this. So he's absolutely spot on. And I think if we look into the live comments here, I think people are relatively happy here, talking about Solskjaer and talking about how he's reacted to these so far. I think when it comes to what he says about the mistakes, I'm very happy all the clubs have admitted their mistake was a bad idea. Obviously, maybe more could have been said there. I don't know what you can let me know what you think in the free seats there. When he's talking about making a mistake, he could have obviously said, and this is a difficult one, to be honest. He could have said, look, they can say the mistakes, but more needs to be done. He's not going to say that, is he? He's not going to say that. Doug Yoon says, Ollie not holding back, love it. Our manager, Ollie got it right, says Paul Pogba. Don't think it's Paul. But I think as a fan reaction, we can see in the live comments here, we can see that I think Solskjaer's, he's doing well. I think he's doing well, and I'm glad to see the what could have been a real negative reaction. And obviously, as we touched on, me and Flex spoke on when we started the stream here, there are still going to be more questions. Obviously, as we get the quotes in, we'll go up on the screen. So I think he's doing well so far, and that's the important thing so far. And he's spoken about the mistakes, and the important thing, to bring it back to a quote we were talking about a few minutes ago, when he was asked about the concept of the Super League, Paul Pogba says it's not Paul, LOL. When he talks about the concept of the Super League, that he didn't like it, and if he said that, Flex is now back on screen. What do you think, Flex, so far?
I think he's done a pretty good job.
I think you muted, Flex.
1 second. Take it off there. Yeah, you should hear me now. No worries.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's you got to bear with us, guys. We're just getting used to I had to go off there and listen. I wanted to get a feel of what he says. It's one thing getting the quotes, but I did want to get used to what he was saying.
And it's the facial reactions as well, isn't it? You need to know the tone of the question.
100%. So I've been seeing the quotes come up here as well. But just on the Glazers, he says, look, they listen to my opinion. We want to improve. They listen to me. But he didn't say they're doing a good job. He didn't say, yes, they love the club. He didn't say any of these things. So he swerved that well. I thought that was good. He said the fans are football. He said he's just glad that all the fans were heard, the players, the staff were heard, and all of the top 6 clubs. He's happy that they made the decision not to be in it. So basically, he's including his own club in that, without saying, I'm so glad that Joel Glazer's plan to take over English football backfired. He can't say that, but he's saying, I'm glad that all of it didn't work. So he is going against the owners in that. There's a quote there saying, we're looking forward to getting fans back in the stadium the last 2 games of the season, and then weren't able to look forward to it. But the fans, we have a banner at Old Trafford that football is nothing without the fans, and we felt that for a year. And again, I like the way Ollie has done this, because he's basically saying he's on our side, referring to the Busby Babes, referring to that banner that's in our stadium. That's my page. Let me just say that out. That is it's because my book was too close. He's referring to the very things of why we were pissed off about it. Do you know what I mean? So he gets it. He also went on to say as well, like I said, that fans are the voices of football, and the voices were heard. And then when he got asked about Woodward as well, which was interesting, this is where my ears really pricked up, because it was basically asking him, what do you think of that Woodward's been sacked? And he said, look, I've always had a good working relationship with Woodward. All right, cool. And then he said the club needs to move on without Ed Woodward. We want to get back to, being where we want to be, and we need to move on. So again, not saying Ed Woodward's done a fantastic job. He's going to be dearly missed. You know, he's a big personality around it. You know, not blowing smoke up his ass, but saying, look,
it's very calculated, isn't it? But in the right way. In the right way.
Mind that at all. I don't mind that. Another quote here says, I think the fans, is that the same one? Yeah. I think the fans, football without the fans is nothing. We have to listen to them. We have all been voicing our opinions this week. That is part of my job, to speak to them, showing them we want to be a better team. Exactly. So again, it's all about the fans, and it is still going on, but I thought I may as well. I've got a rough feel for it. We'll get the quotes more and more as they come in. So yeah.
I think, you know what I really like as well, and I spoke about this briefly when the quotes were coming in, and again, it's one thing to read them, it's another thing to hear them, the context, the facial reactions, all that kind of stuff. What I did like is when he's referencing Manchester United's history, because that was really a big point of contention for fans this week, wasn't it? Is that this Super League goes against everything in Manchester United's history, and he spoke about it himself, is that the biggest moment of his career, irrespective of Manchester United, the biggest moment of his career, absolutely, is his goal. And that moment in the Champions League final. So not only has he spoken about the Busby Babes and the history that they have, obviously with the European Cup, but also he's spoken about the history that he has in the Champions League, and that the Super League would take all of that away. And I think that's really important as well. It's one thing not to come out and say, you know what, I didn't like the Super League concept and all that kind of stuff. It's another thing for him to say, look, I didn't like it because it goes against every single principle of our history.
It does.
And that's what you want as a Manchester United manager. That's the thing with Solskjaer that people can say about him, is that he does understand the club. He does understand the history. He does understand the ethics, because he played here and he played under Alex Ferguson, and he's been surrounded by the club. He spoke about it there with the banner of Sir Matt Busby. Football is nothing without the fans. And I'm really glad that he's tied that into the answer there as well, because it's one thing to say, I don't like the Super League. It's another thing to say, because it goes against our Manchester United history. I think that's really important.
Yeah, exactly. Like Ollie goes on to say, is I've said what I said about the Super League. I am also happy all the owners have agreed it was a mistake. And like I said, all the owners. So he's happy that, you know, the Glazers have agreed that it's a mistake, even though we know the real things behind that. I have always had a good working relationship with the club and the owners. We speak, they listen to my opinions, which is what I touched on just as I came back to you guys. And, you know, we know they don't listen to his opinions. You know, that's one where it's like, well, they don't, unless you were telling them to do this Super League thing, which obviously you wasn't, or unless you're not telling them to get Jude Bellingham, or you're not telling them to get Erling Haaland. They don't listen. They don't.
Yeah, that would be a concern. They listen to my opinions, apart from transfers, tactics, finances, and Manchester United in general. Apart from that, they listen to everything I'll say. So I don't know about that. I mean, as you were reading through the quote, I was kind of like, once he starts going into, I've got a good relationship with the owners. When we speak, they listen to our opinions. I'm already looking at it going, steady on, steady on.
To a point where, and they've done a fantastic job since I've been here. Do you know what I'm saying? He also goes on to say,
I was waiting for that.
Which he cut it short. He cut it.
It's like shaky ground. Shaky ground, Ollie. Be careful.
Right. He also said, football is emotions. I have had a very, very good working relationship with Ed. We have to move on without him. I like that. I don't mind that. I've had a good working relationship with Ed. Well, yeah, okay, fair enough. You weren't going to go into work every day, not speak to him, whatever. That's cool. I understand that. Even though I question how good the relationship was, because it's Ed Woodward and look what he's done to the club.
And but what kind of relationship?
Exactly. And also, but where he just again, just cut to the chase. We have to move on without him. Good. Yeah. Don't say he's been amazing. You know, he also says, I will work as long as United want me here. You know, basically saying, you know, I'm always happy to be here. I'm not going anywhere. And hopefully we can end the season successfully. Ed would be part of that. He's just
shaky ground. If you start saying that this success this season has to do with Ed Woodward, again, that's when you're starting to get on very shaky ground. He's right. We have to move on without him. He's essentially out the window at this point. He's out the door. Just say, oh, I had a good relationship with him, but we've got to move on. You can end it there. But once you start tying into, well, if we win the Europa League, that's just as much on Ed Woodward as the players, then you're going to start turning fans' heads going, I don't think so, Ollie. Be careful. You're doing well so far in the press conference. Be careful.
Super chat here from Quinton in the North says, the question was, would you say they care about the club? And he didn't answer that, which means he doesn't agree. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it was Andy Mitten, I think he said it, or Samuel Lockhurst, one of them. I think it was Samuel Lockhurst. And he was basically saying that, you know, they've been here 16 years and stuff. You know, would you say that Joel Glazer cares about Manchester United along the lines of that, unless I'm mistaken? And Quinton's right, or Queen in the North. Sorry, not Quinton. Why am I reading that? Queen in the North is right with their super chat. That was basically the question put to him. I can't remember exactly who asked it, but he doesn't agree. He doesn't agree because he didn't say, yeah, I think it's fair to say, you know, they do care. They spent nearly £1 billion on transfers. You don't get that much investment if you don't care. He could have done something really stupid like that, but he didn't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He kept it short and simple and swerved it.
I agree. And I saw that some people in the live comments were saying at the time, you know, swerving questions and all that kind of stuff. With those ones, sometimes you not answer it can sort of say the answer you want to say.
Exactly.
Sometimes, and don't get me wrong, we all want to hear proper answers. And in an ideal world, he would have come out, he'd have smashed his fist on the table and gone, Glazers, terrible, flip the table and gone, Manchester United are back and we're not going to stand for this.
Yeah, he can't do that.
That's not going to happen. He can't do that. At the end of the day, it is still the Leeds presser. So sometimes by not saying anything, silence can be deafening sometimes in the right sense, not all the times. And I'm not recommending every question he swerves. I think he's done a good job of all of this. Fine margins, as they're saying in the live chat.
It is fine margins. And I think this is the classic example of less is more. You know, I think we can judge him quite a bit, although there's so much he could say that could really rile up the fans in the wrong way. There's a lot that he maybe won't say that lets us know. Remember when I spoke about those subtle little hints, where we go, Ollie, we know what you're saying. He spoke about the Busby Babes. He spoke about when he played in '99, the driving force behind that was competition and being there of merit. He spoke about he's happy that all the owners realised that this was a mistake. He spoke about that the fans have a voice and the fans are the most important thing to football. He spoke about we need to move on without him, you know, and then he's not spoke about how good a job the Glazers have done. Don't speak about that because they haven't done a good job. So you've got to, in these kind of things, you can either look at it and waiting for an agenda because you're ready to bash Ollie with a stick because you're getting in your head that you want him to come out or expect him to be able to come out and say the Glazers are shit, they're a joke, they're this, they're that. Or you can take a more measured approach and a realistic approach and say, like you just said there, Owen, like, it is a Leeds presser. One, he is the manager of the club. He still needs to work under these guys. And he still doesn't have a lot of say in terms of who owns the club, even if he wants them out secretly. When Ollie goes home and speaks to his family, he might be saying, I can't stand these guys. They don't, you know, but I've got to do the best I can underneath it. You know, Tyler Hell says, I'm thankful of the ESL fiasco. The game has slowly been pulled away from the fans for a long time now. This revealed how far things have gone and how things, let's get that back, and how things need to change. This needed to happen. And Daniel says, they listen to my opinion and choose to ignore it. I knew it, which is basically what we're saying. Exactly. They can't act on his opinions. They must be ignoring him. And another quote here says, this has brought football together in a strange way. Leeds and United and Leeds fans have the same opinion on this topic. I don't think it will be an issue.
What's interesting about that, and obviously I know the Leeds shirts when they played Liverpool earlier on in the week got a lot of criticism from not from fans but from Jurgen Klopp and some of the other people when they were saying about was it the right thing to put them in the change room? What do you think? Do you think they'll? I mean, given the fact that the Super League isn't happening for now, Florentino Perez seems to think that something like this could still happen in the future. Do you think that when it comes to the Leeds approach, they'll do something similar this weekend? I mean, that's an interesting topic to think about, I think.
Because the fans outside of the Big Six are aware that these Big Six clubs are looking to try and change things. They're looking to try and get involved in something that's going to ultimately shit on them again. So you're right. This is why actually it is kind of, although we've created it, this is why it's important for all fans to come together because it's going to change the course of the whole game. Not just the top six, you know, of us thinking about that, about our fans. It's going to change what happens to the likes of Leeds, what happens to the likes of Brighton, what happens to the likes of, I know, Aston Villa or Everton and West Ham and teams like this. So yeah, I agree. This is important though. When Ollie was asked about the protests, I believe this is what he had to say. I will always listen to the fans, and I thought it was the right thing to do, to listen to them and have a nice discussion with them, a peaceful discussion. It was a good 10 minutes and I was happy with that, of course. We didn't shake hands. We gave a fist bump and then we parted. COVID, it was a COVID secure protest.
Exactly.
And Ollie adhered to it. But This is what I think is good because, like I said, he can't come out and say, well, you know, we're trying to get ready for the Leeds game and prepare for that game. It was a massive hindrance. I had to go and speak to them. They were all swearing and it wasn't nice and stuff like that. Because I also believe that as well. I know you can choose to believe what you want to believe, but I believe he would have had a good discussion with them. Why? Because the anger, those fans wouldn't have gone there and hurled abuse at Ollie. They wouldn't have gone there and hurled abuse at the players. None of us as fans, our issue is not with any of the playing staff. Our issue is not with any of the coaching staff, especially Ollie. So I think that is the 100% truth there. And I'm so glad he said it was a peaceful discussion. And he's also saying, if you think about it, this was a good idea by them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Supporting it, going, it was a nice discussion. I always listen to the fans. I mean, and also, I'm glad he said it that way as well, because you can't, a couple of questions back saying about, I'm glad that everyone was able to voice their opinion, and I'm glad that people listened to their opinion. You can't then criticize a protest, which is all about voicing your opinion, can you? So he's already chosen the avenue that he's going down there, hasn't he? And I think it's good he mentions it's a peaceful discussion, because I know obviously there is a lot of anger. There is a lot of anger, and it is people are upset by not only the Super League concept and the breakaway concept, but also people are concerned when it comes to with the Glazers. They are upset about that, and it's a good emphasis that it's a peaceful discussion. And we laughed at it, and he talked about the fist bump, but it's also a good emphasis to say, look, there's still the times we're living at the moment. It's all about voicing your opinion, but also, you know, socially distance, wear your mask, have a peaceful discussion. So, like you said, I mean, there's lots of different ways to look into it, especially when it's written down, but you could look at it maybe as a subtle endorsement of, look, if you've got an opinion, we always listen. I certainly do. So I think that's, like I said, I'm glad he touched on that. I'm glad he touched on that.
Well,
as we spoke about in the preview, there was no way he wasn't going to be asked about it.
He knew. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. If you come out and get this wrong after a whole week of preparation, something's wrong. You know, and I mean wrong for a variety of reasons. You could have got it wrong by being up the Glazers' arses, but you also could have got it wrong by not, having endearment towards the fans. There's another quote here that I'm just seeing as well. I don't know if we've got it, but I'll say what it is. I like this, and this touches into what he said about the protest. I'm a supporter myself, and there will be a day when I come back and watch Man United, and when I watch a Man United team, and I want to watch a Man United team with a fear of failure, 100%. I want to know, you know what I mean?
I love the fear of failure line. Really, that was that, because I said that encapsulates not just football, but
that's doing that to the Glazers. That's doing the two
sport.
fingers up to the Glazers.
Yeah, that's the encapsulation of sport. The fear of failure driving you on, being on the edge of it. You know, being on the edge of it, like you said, it's the two fingers up to the Glazers. That the fear of failure, that's powerful. That is powerful stuff, and that is ultimately what sport is. We spoke about Pep's comments earlier on in the week, saying he absolutely nailed it. I mean, as far as Solskjaer so far in terms of the quotes he said about it, it's pretty good. He's done, like we said, we didn't want to be coming on here going, I can't believe he said these things, but I think he's done really well today. He's come off very strong.
Yeah, exactly, and just, you know, on that one, he's a fan, and that shows he gets it, and his energy was consistent all the way through. I mean, I haven't, you know, obviously finished listening to the whole thing, but I'm assuming, you know, the quotes are kind of stopped trickling through now. But I watched most of it to get a feel of what it was, how he was talking, and straight from the off, I could feel that he was in the right place to do it. Even the first question he answered wasn't quick. He went for it. You know, he went for it in the right way. His tone was good, and he wasn't trying to he didn't seem like someone who was uncomfortable and wanted to rush through it because the Glazers are on his ass. And it felt sincere, which I expect that from Ollie, because I do believe him. He's a supporter just like us. Like you can see there next to me, he says, I'm a supporter myself, and there'll be a day when I come back and watch Man United, and I want to watch a Man United team with a fear of failure. When he brings his kids to come watch Man United, when he wants to watch Man United, when we all watch Man United, the fear of knowing you could lose this game and be out, that's what keeps you going. We got a Europa League semi-final coming up. The fear of losing and going out is what makes the feeling of winning even better. The two need to go hand in hand. Not we can lose the semi-final, but we'll definitely be in it next year. Like,
exactly.
no,
And
we'll definitely be in it next year because we're second. We'll be in a
And
Champions
when
League.
he talks about being a supporter himself, that's when, again, it ties into the history of the club. That's when he talks about the Busby Babes, and he talks about his greatest moment in a Manchester United shirt. That's from him being a supporter, not just a player, but a player, then a supporter, now a manager. He knows all of that. He knows all of that. And again, it's one thing to say, I don't like the Super League because I didn't agree with the concept and I didn't agree with the fear of failure and the integrity of sport, all that kind of stuff. But also when you tie it into the fundamentals of what Manchester United is, that's the most important thing. That's, for me, the big tick in the box as well today. Not just coming out and said I didn't agree with the idea, but also saying why specifically to Manchester United, because everyone's come out and apologized. He touched on it. Everyone's come out and apologized, said it was a bad idea. But for us, and I know that, and I think, well, at Liverpool, they said as well that when you've got a club so steeped in history, not just domestic, but European history as well, it just was against everything, all of the principles of Manchester United. So with the fact that he's tied that into that and explained that as well, I think that's really important.
Another quote that I saw just actually happened before the presser, but it's just interesting because he did speak about Ed Woodward and said we have to move on without him, basically. This is interesting because Alex Crook was reporting today, and this is just a little bit of topical news, but it's relevant to what we're doing. Man United have started their search for Ed Woodward's replacement. This is where it's interesting. It is likely to be an external appointment with Premier League experience. Norwich City sporting director Stuart Webber and Southampton vice chairman Martin Semmens are both admirers. Now, I'm not going to profess to know loads about those two. I don't profess to know loads about sporting directors or CEOs or whatever, or vice chairmen in world football. That is not my forte. I'm only a fan. I'm not going to come on here and chat shit. But I do know that I just hope they make the right appointment and get a real football man or woman to do it. So, yeah, what's your thoughts on that? The biggest thing that sticks out to that maybe it might not just be Richard Arnold slipping into the role. They're looking for an external appointment.
That's the encouraging thing there. I think that was the concern for everyone, wasn't it? Was that obviously people have got their wish list, people have got the Van der Sars and all that kind of stuff. But the real concern about it being Richard Arnold was the fact that it was internal. And if it's someone internal, then you might as well just clone Ed Woodward and put him back in the role and have, it might as well be a doppelganger. You might as well just call him Ed Woodward, not even Richard Arnold, because he would be the same person. It's just another clone. And anyone that's been involved in this Glazer corporation for however many years, whether it's since the last time we won the league title or whatever, they're all Glazer puppets. They really are. And again, if it was Richard Arnold, that was the concern. So the fact that we're having at least hearing something, and again, when it comes to all of this, PR that's been filtering out of Manchester United, Lord knows there's been so much over the course of the last 7 days or so. The fact that we are hearing some reports that could be external, that's positive because that's real reform, that's real change. Although the concern would be still is that regardless of an external appointment, you're still under that Glazer umbrella. And once you come in, they're not going to hire someone, are they? That is completely against the way that they run the football club. They're not.
Give you another potential problem, and I'm just kind of scouting just for information as we're live, and I've seen this as a quote as well from that MEN were reporting on. Ed Woodward is expected to choose Man United's chief executive before he leaves the club. Now, exactly, that goes down to Sir Alex Rick. You get hold on. You get the right to pick your predecessor is it a predecessor? It's replacement. You can't pick your predecessor. You are the predecessor when you get there after. Right. You know what? Sometimes I have proper like dim moments like that. Anyway, you don't get the chance to pick the person who comes after you if you've done a shit job. How about that in basic English?
That's what they're saying. You
don't get a chance to choose your successor if you've done a shit job. Alex Ferguson, don't get me wrong, he got it wrong with Moyes, but we were in debt to Sir Alex Ferguson. We listened to what he says. You have given us unrivaled success. You get the chance to pick who you think. Yeah? But you don't get to do it if you're Ed Woodward.
No, I mean, what's he achieved? What has he achieved to go, I tell you what, Ed, we trust you because you've been fantastic in any other forms of dealing when it comes to transfers and other staff members and all that kind of stuff. What has he earned to do that? Realistically, what has he done to that? And also, if it is true, this is a good point. If if it is true that the reason he resigned early and wanted to leave early is because he didn't agree with the Glazers' plans for the Super League, which, by the way, is just the biggest load of horse shit I'd ever heard in my life. If that is true, then who's to say that? I mean, it's all about sabotage, but who would say that he wants to get someone in that could do a better job than him? I mean, this guy's all about ego. We've seen that. He didn't delegate any responsibility the whole time he was there, right up until the end. So who's to say he would want to get someone better? Does he care about Manchester United? Of course not. You get one of his mates he went to university with again and bring him around the table and go, oh yeah, you could have a job at Manchester United. Sure, it's great. You've got all this money. So what's he done to deserve it? Nothing.
I will say this. I do love the United Stand community. They are always with you. They are always supporting you. People in the comments saying, Flex, you've got this. It's a flexessor. A flexessor. You've got to big up my United Stand community. They will always stand by you in difficult times. Thank you so much for getting me through that little time, that little lack of understanding of the English grammar. That's not my thing, although I did work in education. So, there you go. And
I just went, that's wrong. Didn't tell you what the right word was. But I thought, I'll leave it. I'll play back. We've got the illusion. I've got the pen. That makes me look smart. That's all I've got.
Yeah, this is worse. You've got the pen and you don't even know the words. And
chat goes, success, I told you. Well, I knew you'd get there in the end. And
the funny thing is, on a day where fan media has been attacked by some people in the mainstream as well with ignorant ex-players, and you lot know who I'm talking about in Ray Parlour. This is the beauty of what we do, and I'm going to get into talking about Leeds in 1 second. But this is the beauty of what we do, not just here at United Stand, but this is what fan content is about. No, it's not prim and proper. No, it's not shave around the edges. No, it's not the perfect way of speaking and stuff like that. But that's what makes it beautiful, because we're just fans.
Exactly.
And we get on with it. Anyway, on to the Leeds game though. Ollie did say the preparation for Leeds game was a bit different, but then again, that's part of being in the industry and this club. Man United is the biggest club in the world. We want to be part of European football. Like my players last season, they were excellent. But also a little bit of team news as well. He went on to talk about Marcus Rashford. He said that he hasn't trained. I know you kind of spoke about it a little bit earlier. Eric Bailly is back training as well. He said Eric is back and he's been training this week. So it's been a good week. He said Marcus Rashford hasn't trained, but I hope that he will join us tomorrow. On to the game, though. I mean, it's a big game. We haven't been to Ellen Road for a long time. Yes, it's a shame that there's no fans there. But how do you feel it'll go?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, it's slightly off topic, but I'll give you a little bit of a history lesson. My first ever game I went to as a Man United fan was actually at Old Trafford in 2003. It was Man United versus Leeds. So the return of Leeds this season to be facing this rivalry coming back has been great to see. It really has been. As far as the game at the weekend, I mean, arguably one of our best performances this season was against Leeds at Old Trafford, wasn't it? And to be honest, I'm expecting more of the same. I know people will talk about, obviously there's been a lot of games between now and then. I get that, and I get this tiredness, not just physically but mentally after this week. But the great thing about Man United playing Leeds obviously is the rivalry, and it would be so great, wouldn't it, if you had a capacity stadium there, because you really get the Leeds Man United rivalry. But Leeds, they don't care. They will play the way that they play. Bielsa does not care about the opponent. They play how Leeds play. And the good thing about that is it plays into our hands, because we know that if Man United go up against a low block, suddenly we're starting going, oh, what do we do? What do we do? Because teams know that's how to frustrate us, and sometimes we don't have the answer to that. But Leeds don't do that because they don't care. They don't tailor their approach for opponents. Now, obviously, people say that's a great thing because it's really entertaining. If I was a Leeds fan, obviously I would enjoy it, but also you do have to look at it as maybe a little bit of naivety. So I think it's a really interesting. I'm just happy that we're going to actually have a game of football at the weekend, But I think, like I said, when we play Leeds, I think it could be more of the same. They play into our hands. They do. They play into our hands.
I think the fact that they won't change how they play, and obviously we're not going to really change how we play. We are what we are. I think it could be like a 3-2 win or something like that, or 4-2 win. Or, I don't know. Yeah, quite a few goals maybe, but I think I've got a feeling of just a 3-2 win. I don't know why, just probably with the way Leeds play. But you're right, they won't change how they play. There's always going to be spaces in behind them. They're never going to keep it tight. They're never going to not press you. They're never going to play deep. They're going to come after you, which was I know how well we won the first game. It was an absolute shootout, and what was it? 6-2 in the end. It shouldn't even have been that. Or was it 6-1? 6-2, I think it was. It shouldn't even have been that. It should have been like 14-11. Like with how many chances it was.
Football. It really was basketball football. And that was the crazy thing about it. As like you said, it was a huge win for us. But people kind of forget about that day is that Leeds had chances. If they were clinical, it could have been 6-6. It really could have. They were not clinical, but the goals they did score were unbelievable. Some of the goals they did score were incredible. So it's going to be an exciting game because and I don't know if you're even allowed to say this as a Manchester United fan, but Leeds play great football. So
yeah, 100. Yeah, exactly. Be careful. Jamie Jamie in the comments section said Leeds beat City with 10 men. We have to respect them. A dangerous team. 100%. It doesn't just because you beat them 6-2 earlier on in the season. That has no bearing. Meaning in terms of automatically you've got God-given right to roll them over again. If anything, they want to do stick one on us. We're playing at their place, their pitch. You know, Elland Road. They're going to be right up for this, and it's going to be a tough game. I don't think there'll be as much goals in it as there was the first time. And don't get me wrong, like I said, Leeds don't change the way they play, but it is still going to be a very tough game. And like the person said there in the comment section, we have to respect them because they are a difficult team to beat. Another quote here to saying. Just from MEN, saying reports claim that many of the staff at Man United are gutted Ed Woodward is leaving the club and shocked by the timing of his resignation. Some are adamant that Woodward was genuinely against the concept and has taken the bullet for the Glazers. Now, look, Woodward hasn't done a good job. Yeah, I'm not saying that, but it does. He has been asked to take the bullet for the Glazers and take the main for, just like he was asked to be the main spokesperson for what they're trying to get him to do, which is, you know, I was going to say a mad thing. It's too early to say that, which is ruin Man United. Another quote here from MEM says, Richard Arnold and Ed Woodward met at the University of Bristol in the early 90s, and Arnold is already occupied with the task of finding a new sponsor for the United training ground and training kits as Aon's 8-year contract ends this summer. So Richard Arnold is straight into it. You know, doing what Ed Woodward does. I'm sick
of this university friendship because isn't it him and Ed Woodward and Matt Judge? They went to the same university as well. What is this? What is this? It's University of Bristol reunion, 1990s, whatever. You know, even Drawley went. It's even worse.
Yeah, exactly. You got your education where Drawley got his. Then you're asking for trouble. How can you then go and run Man United off that education? No disrespect to anyone who's got like a first class honours. From Bristol University. I don't want to be getting into that kind of territory, but I just want to laugh at Drawley because it's funny. I just want to laugh only at Drawley and Drawley only because that's funny. Every other university student in the country, disclaimer, you're doing a fantastic job and I'm sure it's a great uni. But when Ed Woodward went there in the 90s, I bet it wasn't.
No, exactly. Perfect. You've nailed that. Spot on.
Hopefully we don't get sued. But I am looking forward to the game now, though. Do you know what? It's weird of how I would feel with our next game because the dust is still settling and you know what's happened. But seeing the reaction from the players and seeing the reaction from the managers, I kind of feel like for those 90 minutes, we owe it 100% to get behind the players and just put that aside for 90 minutes. It's not done. Yeah. We've got to come together. Like we'll be up there tomorrow. There's another protest before the Liverpool game as well. We'll be there too. But in the games, the players deserve to have the fans behind him, although we're not there.
Also, as well, like whenever anyone plays Manchester United, you always want to beat Man United because they're Man United. Now, if you're looking from a Leeds perspective, they really want to beat Man United. They've got the rivalry. You've got wanting to beat Man United anyway because they're a big club, and also because of what's happened over the course of the last 7 days. So I hope that looking at it from a purely football point of view, and as a Man United fan, even though the fans aren't in the ground, hopefully there is a bit of that rivalry, that spark. Maybe that is because of the fallout of the Super League. I hope to see that. It'd be refreshing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. It really would be refreshing. Well, listen, guys, we're going to wrap up there. Big game coming up on Sunday. Like we said on the United Stand, whatever's kind of going on, we want to do our bit and stand alongside other Man United fans. We'll be up there tomorrow. If you are around Old Trafford, come find us. Come and have your say if you want to have your say or whatever, or just even have a chat away from any cameras or whatever. Let's talk. Let's be united in this. To finish off in a couple of super chats here. Sahik says, even if Ed took a bullet, it's still on him. If you play with the pigs, you are one day set to smell like the mud. good analogy, that. And Abjit says, if the reports about Mr. Nicewood are true, is he not throwing the Glazers under the bus? He should join the Glazers out protests. Yeah, I don't think he'd do that.
Could you imagine? With all of his university mates.
Exactly, 100%. But yeah, so we'll be up there tomorrow trying to bring you what we can from up there, and hopefully people turn up. I don't want it to be a situation where there's like 4 people outside the Trinity statue. You know, that would be not great. But you know, we'll be there to tell the story. Owen, thanks for joining us again. Everyone, smash a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and we will see you guys very, very soon. Peace.